Ambassador Sarah Chen stood tall as she gathered her data tablets. The massive crystal chamber of the Galactic Council hummed with the whispers of 200 alien species. For 6 months, the humans had tried to make them listen. For 6 months, they had failed. "This meeting is not over, Ambassador Chen," said High Minister Kilforan. His 4 eyes narrowed on his gray, wrinkled face. The Voltar were known for their patience, but not for changing their minds. "For us, it is," Sarah replied. She nodded to the 12 other humans in her team. As one, they rose from their seats. The chamber erupted in noise. Some aliens shouted, others clicked or whistled in their native tongues. Many had never seen anyone walk out of council talks before. In 3,000 years of Galactic Council history, no one had dared. Captain Miguel Ortiz, head of security for the human delegation, leaned close to Sarah. "They're shocked," he whispered. "Plan is working." Sarah kept her face calm, but inside she felt both fear and hope. This walkout was not an emotional choice. It was a careful plan, designed after months of watching how the council worked. The humans had seen what the other species could not. "You cannot leave," bellowed Sithba of the warrior Draclid race. "This is an insult to the council's honor." Sarah paused at the grand doorway and turned. The entire council watched her. She spoke clearly so the translation devices could catch every word. "We came here in good faith. We wanted true partnership. But this council does not want partners. It wants followers. Earth will not follow blindly. When you are ready for real talks, you know how to reach us." The doors closed behind the human team with a deep, echoing boom. In the transport pod back to their ship, Deputy Ambassador Jackson finally let out a long breath. "Do you think they'll understand the message?" Sarah looked out at the glittering council station, a massive construct housing representatives from across the galaxy. "No, not yet. They'll think we're being emotional and primitive." "Which is exactly what we need them to think," said Dr. Patel, their chief scientist. She smiled slightly. "Humans are so irrational, so impulsive. How could we possibly understand the complex patterns they've missed for centuries?" The team laughed quietly, releasing the tension of months of careful work. Back in the council chamber, the aliens were still arguing about the human departure. "Typical emotional outburst," said High Minister Kilforan. "They will cool down and return. Where else can they go? They need our protection." Delegate Marek Stell of the feline Sarathi purred thoughtfully. "Perhaps, but what if they don't come back?" "Then it is their loss," said Trade Minister Zolpak with a dismissive wave of his tentacles. "They are barely a century into space travel. What could we possibly miss from such primitives?" As the human ship broke orbit and prepared for its jump home, Sarah looked at the message coming in from Earth Command. "Operation Revealed Value is now in progress." She smiled. The council would learn exactly what they would miss, and sooner than they thought. 2 weeks after the humans left, things began to break. First, it was small problems. The translation devices in the council chamber started making mistakes. Words came out wrong. Sometimes they stopped working for minutes at a time. The tech support team, made up of blue-skinned Narvani, scratched their heads in confusion. "The system was working perfectly for years," Chief Technician Zorlak said. "Nothing has changed in our code." What they didn't know was that the translation system had been quietly updated by human engineer Priya Sharma 6 months ago. She had fixed errors no one else saw, but never told anyone. The humans had learned early to fix things quietly. The council races didn't like admitting that primitives could improve their technology. By the 3rd week, bigger problems appeared. In the busy trading port of New Centauri, cargo ships waited in long lines. Food shipments rotted. Medicine deliveries ran late. Captain Drav of the Hugjian Merchant Guild banged his 4 fists on the control panel. "Why are the shipping routes suddenly so slow?" he demanded. The port controller, a thin Felbian with glassy eyes, looked tired. "The routing system is having issues. It can't seem to predict traffic patterns anymore." No one remembered that the humans had been updating the galactic trade algorithms every month. The system still worked, but not as well. Not anymore. In the Grand Council Hall, High Minister Clovorin faced angry delegates. "My people are missing critical medical supplies," shouted the Trilaxian representative, her feathers puffed in anger. "3 of our colonies report food shortages," hummed the Zelvan delegate, his wings buzzing with stress. Clovorin raised his hands for quiet. "These are minor technical issues. Our best minds are working on them." After the meeting, Councillor Ilara of the Trilaxians stayed behind. Unlike most of her kind, she had spent time with humans. She had visited Earth twice. "Minister," she said quietly, "have you considered that these problems started after the humans left?" Clovorin frowned. "Surely you don't suggest that primitives were maintaining our systems?" "Impossible." "Not maintaining," Ilara replied. "Improving. Humans have a strange gift for seeing patterns the rest of us miss." Later that day, another problem appeared. The security grid protecting the galactic core worlds flickered and failed for 6 minutes. Nothing happened during that time, but everyone felt the fear. 6 minutes was enough time for an enemy fleet to jump in undetected. In her private office, Ilara pulled up records of human contributions to council projects. Most were small, a suggestion here, a minor fix there, but there were thousands of them, spread across every system, all done quietly, without taking credit. She sent a message to her government. "We have made a serious mistake. The humans weren't just members of the council. They were its invisible support structure." On distant Earth, in the Planetary Defense Headquarters, General Maya Wong looked at the incoming data from their monitoring stations. "It's starting," she told the gathered leaders. "The council is beginning to feel our absence. How long before we move to Phase 2? President Okafor looked at the holographic display, showing the spreading disruptions across council space. "Let them feel it a little longer," he said. "They need to understand exactly what they've lost." The alarm sirens broke the morning quiet at the Galactic Council Emergency Center. Red lights flashed as operators rushed to their stations. "We have confirmed reports," said Commander Vix of Council Defense. "A Xerathi battle fleet has entered the Orient sector. They've already attacked the colony worlds of New Taurus, Proxima II, and Vega Minor." The council members looked at the giant display map. The Xerathi were a violent race from the Outer Rim. For years they had made small raids, but never something this bold. Now their red ships blinked dangerously close to human space. "Surely the humans will defend themselves," said Minister Clovorin. "They must see the threat." Everyone watched the human border on the map. The human defense fleet was there, 20 warships in perfect formation, but they weren't moving. They weren't heading to meet the Xerathi. They just waited. "What are they doing?" whispered a council member. Councillor Ilara spoke up. "They're protecting their own borders, nothing more." "But the Xerathi will hit their colonies next," said Clovorin. "Perhaps," said Ilara, "or perhaps the humans know something we don't." The council sent emergency defense ships to help the attacked worlds. But when they arrived, the captains reported strange problems. Targeting systems worked at half strength. Ships couldn't communicate properly with each other. Battle plans couldn't be shared between different species vessels. "Many of our tactical systems were designed with human input," explained a frustrated captain. "They work, but not as well. We're fighting at maybe 60% of our normal ability." For 3 days, the council forces struggled against the Xerathi raiders. They managed to drive them back, but at a high cost. 6 defense ships were destroyed. Hundreds of soldiers died. Then, something strange happened. A council scout ship intercepted a Xerathi communication. The translation was rough, but clear enough. "Avoid human space at all costs. Focus on council worlds only." In the council chamber, this news caused an uproar. "The humans are working with the Xerathi," shouted one delegate. "No," said Ilara firmly. "The Xerathi fear the humans. The question is, why?" The answer came 3 days later. A damaged Xerathi ship was captured. Its captain, a scaled creature with 4 arms, was brought before the council for questioning. "Why are you avoiding human territory?" Clovoran demanded. The Exarethi captain made a hissing laugh. "You council fools. 3 years ago, a Exarethi raiding party attacked a small human outpost. Just one outpost. The humans responded by infiltrating our main battle computer. They didn't destroy it. They just let us know they could. Their message was simple. Touch us again, and you won't have a working ship left in your fleet." The council chamber fell silent. "But you're attacking now," said Ilara. "Yes," hissed the Exarethi. "Because the humans have left your council. They're not protecting you anymore." Later, in a private meeting room, the highest council members gathered. "We need to rethink our position on humans," said Ilara. "They weren't just maintaining our systems. They were protecting us without us even knowing it." On Earth, in the Strategic Command Center, General Wong watched the Exarethi fleet's movements with cold eyes. "Should we step in?" asked her aide. "No," said Wong. "The council needs to learn this lesson fully. Sometimes the most powerful defense is the one your enemy never sees." The humans knew this. Now the council will learn it too. The grand meeting hall of the Galactic Council fell silent as Dr. Thrana walked to the center platform. The Volgorian scientist was highly respected throughout the galaxy. Her blue skin seemed paler than usual, and her normally neat white hair looked messy, as if she hadn't slept. "Council members," she began, her voice tired but clear. "I have completed my emergency study on the recent technological failures. My findings are concerning." The large screen behind her lit up with complex charts and diagrams. "For the past month since the humans left, progress has slowed in 76% of our research fields. In some areas, we are seeing actual regression. Problems that were being solved are now unsolved again." Minister Clovoran frowned. "Are you suggesting the humans took knowledge with them when they left? That would be a violation of council sharing laws." Dr. Thrana shook her head. "No, Minister, it's much more fundamental than that. The humans didn't take anything. They just stopped connecting things." She showed a new image on the screen, a complex web of lines connecting different research fields. Humans have a unique way of thinking. They make connections between different fields that seem unrelated to the rest of us. They see patterns we miss. She pointed to a specific cluster. Take medical research. The Plavians are excellent cell biologists. The Xindi are master geneticists. But it was a human scientist who connected Plavian cell research with Xindi gene therapy to create the cure for Rigelian fever last year. The council members looked at each other uncomfortably. "But surely our own scientists can make these connections?" asked a delegate. "Our brains don't work the same way," Dr. Thrana explained. "Each species has cognitive strengths and weaknesses. Humans excel at seeing connections between different fields. Without them, our collaborative research has become fragmented." She showed more data. "And there's more. Our monitoring of human space shows their research is accelerating. Now that they're working only with themselves and not trying to fit into our systems, they're moving even faster." After the meeting, Councillor Ilara and Minister Clovoran walked together through the quiet halls. "First our systems fail," said Clovoran. "Then our defenses prove weak. Now our science is falling behind. What exactly are these humans?" "They're connectors," said Ilara simply. "They bridge gaps. Between systems, between ideas, between species. We never saw it because they did it so quietly." "Why would they hide their abilities?" asked Clovoran. Ilara sighed. "Because we never gave them a reason not to. Remember how the council treated them when they first arrived? Primitive newcomers, we called them. So they adapted. They found ways to help without bruising our pride. Meanwhile, on Earth, in the newly built Global Research Center, Dr. Emily Nakamura stood before a holographic display showing a revolutionary new energy system. Scientists from a dozen nations worked around her, freely sharing ideas. We've made more progress in 1 month than we made in a year trying to fit our research into council formats, she told President Okafor during his visit. The president nodded, looking at the brilliant display. And what about Phase 3? Almost ready, said Dr. Nakamura. Soon the council will see that we weren't just connecting their ideas. We were holding back some of our own. Tala Sen, owner of the largest entertainment complex in the Galactic hub, looked at his empty viewing halls with worry. For the third week in a row, attendance was down across all his venues. It made no sense. Even during past conflicts, people had always sought entertainment. Perhaps a new selection of shows would help, suggested his assistant. We've tried, said Tala Sen, his purple skin darkening with stress. Nothing seems to interest the public anymore. Across council space, the same pattern appeared. Entertainment centers stood half-empty. Viewing rates for shows dropped. Even gambling, usually reliable during troubled times, saw less activity. In the council chambers, this strange problem finally reached the agenda. It seems minor compared to our other issues, said Minister Kolforin, but the widespread nature of this melancholy is becoming a concern. A small, white-furred delegate stood up. This was Shima, representative of the Overax, a species known for their deep understanding of emotions. It is not minor, Minister, said Shima, her voice soft but clear. What we are experiencing is the absence of human art. The council members looked confused. Surely you jest, said one delegate. Human entertainment was simple and primitive compared to our own. Shima shook her head. Simple, perhaps, but vital. My people have studied this effect for years. Human creative works. Their music, stories, visual arts, served as emotional bridges between species. She activated a screen showing charts of brain activity. Different species process emotions in different ways. A Draclid cannot naturally understand how a Felbian feels. Their brains are too different, but human art somehow speaks to both. She played a short clip of human music. The simple melody filled the chamber. Notice how the music uses patterns that cross species boundaries. Tests show that this single piece creates similar emotional responses in over 30 different species. Councillor Ilara nodded slowly. I noticed humans were popular in the entertainment sector, but I never understood why. Because they feel so deeply and express those feelings in ways that translate across species barriers, explained Shima. Without their creative works refreshing our cultural exchanges, we are all becoming isolated within our own emotional worlds. After the meeting, delegates gathered in small groups, talking quietly. First systems, then defense, then science, now culture, said one. What else were the humans doing that we didn't notice? In a quiet corner of the station, Taliesin made a desperate decision. He connected to the black market communication network and paid an outrageous sum to get access to new human entertainment that was being smuggled out of Earth. The next day, he secretly added human shows to his lineup. The results were immediate. Attendance doubled, then tripled. Different species sat together, sharing emotional reactions they thought they couldn't share anymore. On Earth, in the Global Arts Center, Maria Rodriguez finished her new symphony. The work combined musical traditions from 12 Earth cultures with subtle influences from 5 alien species she had studied during her time on the council. Will we ever share these works with the wider galaxy again? Asked her colleague. Maria smiled. Of course, art wants to be shared, but next time, they'll know exactly what our creativity is worth. In her office, Ambassador Chen received the latest reports on council space. The section on cultural impact made her smile. The heart wants what it wants, she said to herself. And apparently, the galaxy's heart wants human stories. Grand Envoy Xilith stood before the full Galactic Council. As the highest-ranking diplomat in council space, she had never been given such an important mission. You will travel to Earth, said Minister Clovorin. You will offer the humans whatever they want to return to the council. Xelith's translucent skin rippled with surprise. Whatever they want. This is unprecedented. "These are unprecedented times," replied Colvorin gravely. 4 major systems are now on the edge of collapse. The Exerethi raids continue. Scientific progress has slowed to a crawl. And this strange sadness spreads among our peoples. 2 days later, Zelith's diplomatic vessel approached Earth. She expected to see a planet preparing for isolation or even war. Instead, her sensors detected heavy traffic, ships coming and going from dozens of worlds, many unknown to the Council. "Captain," she said, "are those non-Council ships visiting Earth?" The captain nodded. "Yes, envoy. Many appear to be from pre-spaceflight civilizations or those classified as non-sentient." This made no sense. Council law strictly limited contact with developing species. When her ship landed at the Global Diplomatic Center, Zelith was greeted by Ambassador Chen herself. "Welcome to Earth, Grand Envoy," said Chen with a polite bow. "We are honored by your visit." Zelith looked around in amazement. In the huge arrival hall, she saw humans talking with dozens of species, many that the Council had classified as primitive or non-sentient. "What is this?" she asked. "These species are not part of the Council." "No," agreed Chen. "The Council decided they weren't advanced enough, or that their form of intelligence didn't qualify as true sentience." She led Zelith to a meeting room, where a human was deep in conversation with a creature that looked like a floating jellyfish. "This is Dr. Parker, and this is Lumina of the Marivi," Chen explained. The Council classified the Marivi as pre-sentient marine life forms, but Dr. Parker discovered they communicate through light patterns and have built an entire underwater civilization. Across the room, another human spoke with what looked like a walking tree. "The arboreals," said Chen. "Council scientists said they were just plants with basic movement, but they think and feel through a network of roots. They're poets," Envoy Zelith. "They've been composing epic poems for 10,000 years." Throughout the day, Zelith met species after species that the Council had dismissed. Each showed clear signs of intelligence, just expressed in ways the Council had never bothered to understand. "Why are you showing me this?" Zelith finally asked. Chen's face grew serious. "Because this is why we left. The Council has become rigid, seeing intelligence only when it mirrors your own. We humans are young compared to you, but we see value where you see only resources." "Is this a new alliance?" asked Zelith, suddenly worried. "Are you building a force against the Council?" Chen shook her head. "No, we're building bridges. These species have knowledge, art, and technologies the Council never imagined because you never truly looked." That night, in her temporary quarters, Zelith sent an urgent message to the Council. "The humans haven't been preparing for war or isolation," she wrote. "They've been reaching out to those we ignored. The question isn't what they want from us anymore. The question is whether we're ready to see the galaxy through their eyes." Red emergency lights flashed throughout the Galactic Council Command Center. The giant view screen showed a terrible sight: a wormhole collapse near the Vega cluster, a densely populated sector with 12 inhabited worlds. "How bad is it?" asked Minister Colvorin, his normally calm voice shaking. The science officer, a tall Felbian with long fingers, looked grim. "Catastrophic, Minister. The wormhole is collapsing in an unpredictable pattern. Our models show gravitational waves will hit all 12 worlds within hours." "Casualties?" Colvorin hardly wanted to hear the answer. "Our best estimate: millions." The Council had faced disasters before, but never something this sudden, this deadly. Their evacuation ships could save thousands, perhaps tens of thousands, but millions would die. "Get every available ship to the Vega cluster," ordered Colvorin. "We must save who we can." As the emergency teams rushed to execute these orders, a junior officer called out in surprise. "Minister, multiple ships just appeared near the collapsing wormhole. They're human vessels." On the screen, a fleet of 20 large Earth ships appeared, moving directly toward the wormhole. Their design was unlike anything the Council had seen before. Sleek, dark hulls with glowing blue lines running along their sides. "What are they doing?" someone whispered. "They'll be destroyed if they get too close." The human ships formed a perfect circle around the collapsing wormhole. Then, each ship extended 4 long, thin arms that glowed with intense blue light. The arms pointed inward, toward the center of the chaos. "They're creating some kind of energy field," said the science officer in amazement. It's stabilizing the gravitational waves." For 6 tense hours, the human ships held their position. The wormhole continued to collapse, but now in a controlled manner. The deadly waves that would have hit the populated worlds were being contained, redirected. When it was over, the wormhole was gone, but so was the threat. The human ships regrouped and prepared to leave. "Open a communication channel," ordered Colvorin quickly. A human face appeared on screen. Admiral Helena Rivera of the Earth Defense Force. "Admiral," said Colvorin, "you saved millions of lives today. The Council owes you a great debt." The Admiral's face remained serious. "We didn't do this for the Council, Minister. We did it for the people who would have died." "How did you develop such technology?" asked the science officer. "Our best minds thought it was impossible to contain a wormhole collapse. We worked with the Maribi," replied Admiral Rivera. "Their understanding of gravitational fields is far beyond yours. Beyond ours, too, until we learned to listen to them." "The jellyfish creatures?" asked Colvorin in disbelief. "The ones we classified as non-sentient." "Yes," said the Admiral. "And the stabilization technology came from cooperation with the arboreals. Their root networks naturally balance energy fields." Before disconnecting, Admiral Rivera said one final thing. "We never stopped caring about the lives in Council space, Minister, even when we disagreed with the Council itself." After the human ships left, the Council chamber was silent. "They saved millions of our citizens," said Councillor Ilara finally, "using technology developed with species we dismissed as worthless." Minister Colvorin looked old and tired. "I think it's time we admit our mistake. We need the humans back, not as junior members, but as teachers." The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council was full beyond capacity. Representatives from every member world crowded the seats. Even the viewing galleries were packed with diplomatic staff and media. Everyone knew this was a historic day. Ambassador Sarah Chen walked to the center of the chamber. She wore a simple blue uniform with Earth's symbol, a circle of stars around a stylized tree, on her shoulder. Behind her stood representatives from 12 species that the Council had once classified as non-sentient or pre-spaceflight. "Thank you for inviting us back to speak," she began. "But I must make something clear. We are not here to rejoin the Council as it stands." Murmurs ran through the crowd. Minister Colvorin leaned forward. "Then why have you come, Ambassador?" "To explain why we left," she said. "It wasn't because of wounded pride or impatience, as many of you believed. It was because we discovered something fundamental about the Council's structure, something that made true partnership impossible." She activated a holographic display in the center of the room. It showed a complex web of connections, trade routes, communication networks, defense patterns, and political relationships. The web formed a clear pattern, with older Council races at the center, receiving more benefits than they gave. "The Council has existed for 10,000 years, said Chen. "In that time, it has grown from 5 founding species to over 200 members, but the basic structure has never changed." She zoomed in on specific examples, showing how resources flowed from newer members to older ones, how defense priorities protected central worlds first, how cultural exchange was controlled by the founding species. "This system wasn't created with bad intentions," Chen continued. "It evolved naturally as the Council grew. But the result is the same, a structure that ensures the oldest members benefit most, while newer members serve their interests." The chamber fell silent. Many delegates looked uncomfortable. Some nodded slowly in recognition. When we humans joined the council, we saw this pattern quickly, said Chen. We tried to work within the system at first, making small improvements where we could. But we realized the problems were too deep for small fixes. So you left to teach us a lesson? Asked a delegate angrily. No, said Chen. We left to show you a truth you couldn't see. Our departure was a demonstration of what happens when relationships are built on uneven ground. The council has been stable for thousands of years because new members keep joining, taking their place at the edges of the system, providing fresh energy and resources. She looked directly at Minister Clovorin. You didn't notice how much you depended on us because you've never had to notice how much you depend on any newer member. The system was designed to keep you comfortable in your position at the center. Councillor Ilara stood up. Ambassador Chen speaks the truth. I've reviewed the evidence. Our 10,000-year-old foundation was built on subtle subjugation rather than true partnership. The chamber erupted in voices, some angry, some supportive, many confused. Minister Clovorin raised his hands for quiet. When he spoke, his voice was heavy with realization. For 10,000 years, we believed we were building a perfect union of worlds. Instead, we were creating a hierarchy and calling it equality. 6 months after Ambassador Chen's revelation, the old Galactic Council chamber stood empty. In its place, a new structure had been built, a circular building with no center, where all seats faced each other equally. Today was the first meeting of the new Galactic Alliance. Representatives from over 200 former council species filled the room. Among them sat delegates from 30 species that had once been dismissed as non-sentient or pre-spaceflight. Minister Clovorin, now simply Delegate Clovorin, looked around the new chamber with mixed feelings. The transition had not been easy. Some of the older species had resisted change. A few had even threatened to leave. Are you ready? Asked Councillor Ilara, who now served as one of 5 rotating chairs of the new alliance. As ready as I can be, he replied. 10,000 years of history isn't easy to rewrite. Ilara smiled. We're not rewriting it. We're acknowledging it and moving forward. The session began with a simple ceremony. Representatives from the 5 oldest and 5 newest alliance members together activated the central communication hub. Unlike the old council, where all messages flowed through the center, this system connected each member directly to all others. Ambassador Chen took her place among the Earth delegation, not at the front, but as one voice among many. After the opening ceremony, she walked over to Clovorin. How does it feel? She asked. Strange, he admitted. For thousands of years, I sat at the center. Now I'm just one voice among equals. Not just one voice, she corrected him. A unique voice. That's what we've all learned, isn't it? Each species brings something unique to this alliance. Across the chamber, a human scientist worked with a floating Maribi and a tree-like arboreal. They're 3 different forms of intelligence combining to tackle problems none could solve alone. In another corner, a young Voltar diplomat struggled to understand the light pulse language of a crystalline being from a gas giant. A human translator stood between them, helping bridge the gap between such different minds. This is what you saw all along, isn't it? Asked Clovorin. Not just equality in rights, but in value. Each form of intelligence bringing something the others need. Chen nodded. Humans aren't smarter than other species, Clovorin. We're just contradictory. We're logical and emotional at the same time. Competitive and cooperative. We see both the details and the bigger picture. It makes us good at connecting things that don't seem connected. A soft chime indicated the start of the day's formal business. As they returned to their seats, Clovorin said quietly, Our greatest error wasn't in underestimating human technology or strength. It was in failing to see that your contradictions were actually your greatest gift. As the new Galactic Alliance began its work, messages spread across the stars. To worlds long ignored, to species once dismissed, to civilizations developing in their own unique ways. The message was simple. All voices welcome, all minds valued. The galaxy is bigger than we knew. In her private journal that night, Ambassador Chen wrote, "The human journey among the stars begins for real today. Not as conquerors or saviors, but as connectors, helping translate between profoundly different perspectives. It's a role that fits us perfectly."